What's going on, everyone? So yesterday we saw the Los Angeles Lakers waive four guys, which were all expected. Augustus Marcelonis, who I don't really see him making the roster at any point personally. We didn't really get to see him in preseason at all. He was dealing with some injury, but he's a guy that even going into preseason, I was kind of like, I just don't see him actually making the roster. He's a little older of a player, but he's a guy that you could see in like a TJ McConnell role, kind of that mid-range playmaker type. He's closer to a true playmaker, but I just think given what the Lakers really need, defense, athleticism, right, shooting, he's probably the odd man out in that regards. Anton Watson, who, again, another guy that maybe could have some promise, 6'8", 6'9" type range. He's a guy that could play and slot in either forward spot, but we'll see what kind of emerges in the G League with him on the G League roster if he actually becomes anything. We didn't really get a real run and opportunity with him to really kind of properly assess him and judge him in a way to like, oh, hey, this is a guy that could be a real piece in the rotation or whatever. So I want to be fair to him and kind of just like, hey, he's a potential. He's a maybe. Two guys that I really want to talk about that I think obviously probably not going to make the roster this year unless the Lakers make some significant trades and need some guys, which even then they probably bring in their two-way guys. We'll see what ends up happening. But RJ Davis and Nate Williams, those were the two kind of guys that stood out on this Lakers team. We didn't get to see Chris Middleton, which we'll see if he gets any run during the regular season. We'll see what the Lakers do if maybe they end up waiving him and bring in a RJ Davis, who is really good for the Lakers and kind of showed that 3-level scoring ability. Both guys, as far as RJ Davis and Nate Williams, both have their kind of pros and cons. RJ Davis, the con for him is his size, right? He's a guy that's 6 foot. Right, like he's not a guy you're probably going to have in your starting lineup, but maybe in a bench role off the bench is just kind of that Gabe Vincent replacement. Maybe at some point off the bench is kind of the comparison that I've thrown around. He was the one that really stood out. You saw his offensive versatilities, his ability to shoot the basketball, even deep 3-ball, his ability to take guys off the dribble, apply rim pressure, stop on a dime, knock down the mid-range, make a couple plays. So he's a guy that could create for himself and create for others. He's a guy that I really do think has an impact, and we'll dive into him here more in a moment. And then Nate Williams, his biggest flaw is his age at this point, right? He's 26 years old. He'll be 27 in February, so basically midway through the season. And it's like, if he's not on the main roster this year, now you're talking he's 27, going to be 28 going into next year. He's probably closer to his ceiling than his floor, which is fine, right? I looked at him kind of in that Jordan Goodwin role, right? I think Nate Williams is a guy that could be that kind of dirty work, diving for loose balls, playing some defense, knows and understands his role, just kind of happy to be on the team or be in the league. Guy that can knock down the occasional 3-ball. He actually shot 3-ball well, but again, he was limited. Like it wasn't like he took a ton of attempts. So offensively, he didn't get a ton of offensive opportunities to see what he could do. But his ability to kind of be that 3-and-D guard. Talk about a guy 6'5" that can defend 1 through 3 for you. Got some athleticism. Just tough, physical, hard-nosed, dive for loose balls, play some defense. He's the kind of guy that you want slotted in off the bench, right? That could play some defense. I could see him as kind of a rotation player or a guy that's just in the rotation or even at the end of the bench type guy, which, on any given night, it's like, hey, like even Jordan Goodwin. If we had kept Jordan Goodwin, it's like, where does he fit in? Where does he slot in compared to some of these other guys? But it's great to have him because if somebody gets the night off, he can step in, play a big role for you, have an impact on the defensive side of things, make the winning plays, make the impacts. It's kind of what I could see with Nate Williams. Even if he's your 12th guy, anybody gets the night off. He's a guy that in a pinch could fill in, play a role, and I think, help win those games that he's in. So I like the idea of Nate Williams. He's a guy that, also has some NBA experience. Not a guy that, has played and done a bunch of things. Like the most games he's ever played in a season was 22, and that was with Houston 2 seasons ago. But 3-point range that year, he shot 40%. This rookie season with Portland shot 37.5% on his most attempts, which is 1.6 attempts per game. So if he could be something like that, he actually averaged just under 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and half a block for Portland. And that was in just 5 games, 4 starts, but 25.4 minutes per game. So again, he's a guy that has shown some promise. He's a guy that has shown the ability to, again, kind of play both sides of the basketball for you, defend multiple positions, play multiple positions. I will see if now that he's going to be on the G League team, that's why the Lakers waived him, so that way they can keep his rights, so that way he can play for the G League team. We'll see what he's able to do in the G League, because he has been a good G League player in the past. It's just, again, can that translate to the NBA level in a position and role that we need? You need young, versatile players. You want young talent that you can kind of cycle through, right? Talked about. Lakers made it very apparent, very clear that they want to be that kind of premier farm system where they're starting to grow and develop guys, propping guys up. You know, you get guys that fall off the roster, whether it's, free agency or just guys price themselves out or they're not very good, or you trade guys and now you have an open roster. But whatever, there's several reasons why you might bring somebody in onto the roster, right? Nate Williams, again, his age, not that I wouldn't want to see him be brought on or anything, but again, it's like, how much are you going to be able to develop him, right? You don't have really 2-3 years. I mean, maybe, it depends on the role and things like that, but he's a guy that would be cheap. You'd be able to bring in, vet minimum contract. You probably sign him even for multiple years on a vet minimum contract just because he wants to be in the league. And it's like, hey, you come in, play a role. You're probably not going to play every night. You're probably not going to, unless he really does kind of become that premier kind of two-way guy for them. But he's in the mold of what you want. Athleticism, defensive versatility, and can shoot the basketball. Put the ball on the deck a little bit, make the occasional plays for others, kind of slot in either guard position for you. A guy that, in theory and concept, makes sense slotted alongside Luka Doncic. So, again, don't hate the idea of him at all. And then you get it back to bringing it around to RJ Davis, because he's the one that kind of emerged as the fan favorite. He'll actually be 24 the day that we play the Golden State Warriors on the 21st. So maybe that's a good sign. Obviously, RJ Davis, he's the guy that could end up getting swooped up, right? At least at the time of recording this video and likely the time that this posts. We haven't gotten any word that he's been picked up by anybody, but I wouldn't be shocked if somebody does. You look at kind of the Scottie Pippen Jr. situation, which is a little different, right? Like, Lakers had him, like, they just didn't really play him, didn't really give him much opportunity. Although the limited opportunity they did get, he wasn't super great. Kind of just went to the right circumstance, the right situation. Memphis was just in this spot where they were like, hey, we don't have Ja Morant all season, and, all of our players are injured and hurt. Let's just kind of see if we can, find that diamond in the rough, that gem, right? And Scottie Pippen Jr. and Jay Huff were really good for them. They had bad games, don't get me wrong. They also had some good games. But, RJ Davis is a guy that I could see a team going like, hey, let's give him a chance. Bring him in on a two-way. Let's bring him in on the main roster. I want to be clear, like, if the Lakers lose either of these guys, I don't think it's the end of the world, right? Every year, we seem to have an RJ Davis. A guy that fans really love, myself included, that we're like, man, we could see this guy on the roster. We could see this guy having an impact, being in the rotation, playing some type of role. Like I said, with RJ Davis, kind of playing that Gabe Vincent role off the bench where he could be that initiator, be that on-ball, off-ball type of threat, can go get you buckets, all that stuff, especially for a team that really lacks bench scoring. RJ Davis showing his ability to be a two-way player, I do think can go a long way. Again, he's undersized, so that's a little bit of a concern. But like we've seen pretty much every year that we get one of these guys and then we end up losing them, it doesn't really change anything, right? It's just like, so to me, he's a guy that, again, 24 years old, you got a little more time than you do with Nate Williams, but not much. You kind of want to get him, as soon as next season, in my opinion, if you're really trying to bring him on, right? Let him spend the year in the G League, keep him under the Lakers umbrella, kind of, build him up and stuff. Maybe play summer league next season, and then you bring him in on, as like your 14th guy or whatever, and then let him kind of work the ranks, right? Kind of let him work his way in to the rotation, fight for an actual rotation spot. If he's not able to do it next season, then, you can kind of, maybe you could do it the following season. But again, another guy that just would be cheap, versatile, can kind of come in and play a role in a pinch. Would be nice to kind of get him on a two-way to see like what could he do. Again, it's one thing to do things in preseason. It's another thing to do it in an actual game where teams actually care about the wins and losses and want to play good and trying to stop you, and you're getting those defenses and you have to defend against those offensive players and stuff. It'd be nice to kind of get a look at him at an actual top competitive level rather than guys like out there like, hey, let's just try not to get hurt. Hey, let's throw our G League guys out there and stuff. But I did like what we saw from RJ Davis. If we can keep him and he can kind of emerge into a rotation spot, if we end up trading Gabe Vincent or, if he ends up departing in the offseason or something like that, I think RJ Davis is a guy that maybe could fill that role for the Lakers. Again, I would want a little more sample size with him before we really just like crown him, but he looked very good. I mean, he's putting up 14 points one game, was like 17 the next, like he's getting steals and assists and making plays, and you saw him be aggressive. Like he was a real standout. He looked good in summer league, translated to the preseason. He was the real standout of the young guys, right? Dalton Connect, even I thought RJ Davis played better than him. Bronny James, I actually thought he played better. I thought RJ Davis really showed some quality signs, right? Like so. RJ Davis is a guy that, I'd love to have. We'll kind of see, right? He looked a little more polished. Right? You got to keep in mind, because I know one I just mentioned, Bronny, so people are going to be like, that's why you need to get rid of Bronny's also, you got to keep in mind, 3 years younger, right? Like, so again, what did Bronny look like a couple years? So it wasn't like shade at Bronny. I'm a big Bronny defender. Again, I don't know. Bronny might not turn out to be anything. He might end up being out of the league in a couple years. I don't know, right? But again, RJ Davis, it's why Lakers have had success with those older guys. They're more mature, more experienced, right? Kind of know and have that feel and understanding of the game. Look, if Lakers can keep RJ Davis and keep him around, I'm all for it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.